Southern. Woody Marks might make it a moot point, and he does. Talk about all the field goals, and Woody Marks rumbles into the end zone, and USC is on top with 8 seconds to play.
That was the scene on Sunday nights as USC put the exclamation points on their 27-20 victory over LSU. I guarantee you that the Trojan faithful shut down the bars on Monday morning in Vegas. And this was one of the most entertaining games of Labor Day weekend of this young college football season so far. And I just want to take a moment to appreciate that. That was great college football. That's why we watch the game, and that's why we talk about the game afterwards. So thank you, God, for a great college football game and a great start to the season. I also want to take a moment to admit the fact that I was wrong about this game, and I was wrong about USC. I predicted LSU to win this game. I thought it would be an absolute barn burner, shootout, offensive game. And the offenses were very much clicking. They just didn't score as much as I thought they were going to. I was thinking it was going to be more of like a 45-41 game than a 27-20. But nonetheless, it was still riveting. However, in this video, I don't want to be a scrutinizer. I don't want to be a guy that picks a team apart. So I'm not going to put the magnifying glass on LSU and talk about what they did wrong. Instead, I want to talk about what USC did right and why they're very much on the right track and have a positive trajectory. This is an interesting year in college football as far as quarterbacks go, because I think that what a lot of media and experts were feeding to you as the potential best quarterbacks in college football and Heisman favorites aren't exactly going to align with who they're going to be at the end of the season. And what I mean when I say that is there's going to be several guys in college football that are going to emerge as star quarterbacks and take the college football world by storm. One of those guys is USC's Miller Moss. He showed on Sunday night, he cemented that he is an absolute dog. His timing, his accuracy, his cadence, it's something that you can only develop by being patient and staying in a system, staying with the team, being loyal, learning a coaching staff, building cohesion with them, intimately understanding a system, and then being plugged in with all of that background knowledge and with that foundation of confidence to just go in and be as confident as Miller Moss was on Sunday night. Miller Moss is an example of somebody who hasn't bounced around from team to team to different team. And there's nothing wrong with the transfer portal, but I do have an appreciation for guys like Miller Moss who tough it out. Even when Caleb Williams is starting over him, even when 5-star Malachi Nelson is brought in, he was gritty, he was diligent, he was committed, he was determined. He knew he was going to win the starting job, and he did. And he proved exactly why he deserved it on Sunday night. I was so happy to see it. 27 for 36, 378 yards. More importantly, Miller Moss delivered when he needed to. When the lights were the brightest, and the lights are bright in Vegas, Miller Moss delivered. But what I think is the most impressive thing about this young man is that you can just see and you can feel how invested his offense is into him. How bought in they are into Miller Moss. And that is so incredibly important for a team's trajectory and for a team's competitiveness in any given season, to be bought into your starting quarterback. When not everybody's bought in, there can be some turmoil, there can be some tension, and that can lead to underachievement. You maximize your potential as a football team when your offense is bought into the nucleus of your offense, your quarterback. And you could just see it on their faces. You could see it in the post-game interviews after the game. They're very bought into Miller Moss. And that's going to benefit USC tremendously down the line here. So that's that, and it's just a lot of dogs on this USC offense. Amazing receiving core, running back room. I was very impressed by the flow of that USC offense. Here's what I want to unpack. And here's why I think USC looks a little bit different this year. Oftentimes, teams will build a reputation for themselves, and that reputation will transform into a narrative. That's what happened with USC's defense, because it was very porous. It was like Swiss cheese over the past several years. However, Sunday, it was more buttoned up. It was more effective. And I have to give a shout out to my good friend, Tim Wick, one of the biggest USC fans you'll ever meet. Him and I live out in Dallas with each other right now. We hang out all the time, and we had many colorful college football conversations over the summer. And one argument that he was really pushing with me is that USC's defense is be much improved. And I would kind of look at him, I'd sip my beer, and I'd laugh, and I'd be like, yeah, okay. And I'm just going to become 6'3" by November. Okay, pal. Yeah, let's see how much better that defense gets. Well, Mr. Wick was right, and I was wrong. As this defense is the reason why, along with Miller Moss and that offense, the reason why USC sealed the deal with the game against LSU last night. Not as soft and apathetic as they were before. They were dialed in. They were focused. They were hard-hitting. When they brought the pressure, they were effective. They made stops when they needed to. They were a bend, don't break defense, don't get me wrong. They made clutch stops they needed to, but they still allowed 421 total yards. Give that number context, they played probably one of the best offenses in college football. LSU, like USC on offense, has some absolute dogs. And so they're going to put up yards. They're going to put up numbers. But when they needed to, this USC defense elevated in a way that I did not expect to see this year and that we hadn't seen out of USC in a very long time. So if you can pair that with a Lincoln Riley offense and what's looking like our Lincoln Riley quarterback in Miller Moss once again, USC may be a little better than we all thought this year. And so they're definitely putting us on notice. And I want to go beneath the surface as to why this USC defense looks a lot more effective this year than a lot of us expected it to be. And it's because of their new defensive coordinator, Danton Lynn. USC's defense, for players, it's a lot easier to understand. It's a lot simpler. It's a lot more condensed. Before, it was more complex, and you saw it last year. It looked very clunky. Players were confused. There's miscommunications. Now, USC's defensive personnel, they can adapt quicker. They can make changes quicker. They can make decisions quicker. It's just more crisp. It's just more effective. And players can be quicker when they understand their system more effectively, more intimately. You shouldn't want to make a system more complex. I think a lot of coordinators and coaches pride themselves on making these really complex offensive and defensive systems. You can condense it, and you can boil it down. At the end of the day, you want your players to understand what you're communicating. Danton Lynn gets that, and that's why USC is going to overachieve this year. Overall, what I'm going to end this video with, USC seems a lot more together this year. There's a lot more cohesion. When you have a star quarterback like Caleb Williams or Bryce Young or Trevor Lawrence, it's just a natural phenomenon. It's not on any of those individuals themselves, but there's naturally for a team more distractions and a lot more of a possibility for resentment. It's just human nature. It's just how guys are. When you see Caleb Williams in all the Heisman House commercials, the Nissan commercials, the Dr. Pepper commercials, you saw it with Bryce Young the year before, especially in this NIL age. Those guys are getting 3 and 4 times the amount of money that anybody else on the team is getting. It's going to be a little bit of resentment. I mean, Caleb Williams is an absolute star. Bryce Young was an absolute star. When you have somebody in the locker room like that, it can cause some weird social phenomenons because all the attention is on them and it's not being dispersed equally to other players. And that's not on Caleb Williams. That's not on Bryce Young. That's just human nature. When you have somebody like Miller Moss, who hasn't cemented himself as a star yet, but is hungry, but is striving to get there, and is continuing to prove that he's a star, there's a little more cohesion because everybody's on even ground. Everybody's getting the same amount of attention as each other. There's not this huge disparity. And so that's going to very much work in USC's favor this year. I'm not at all insinuating that USC is going to be like a national championship contender or anything, but they're going to make it interesting in the Big Ten. They're going to make it exciting. You could see them in Indy. You could see them in the playoff. I'm not going to discount that. All I'm saying is I think USC overperforms where a lot of us thought they were going to be this year. And I can't wait to watch them week in, week out because they looked electrifying and they looked entertaining. Have a great day. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate you and the time that you took out of your day to watch the video. And if you enjoyed it, please be sure to like the video and share it, as well as subscribe to The Era. The more likes and subscribers I get on this channel, the more resources I can attain, and the more resources I can attain, the more value I can provide to you, the viewer. And that is how I show my appreciation for you for the time that you devote to watching my videos. So thank you so much, and have a great day.